Hey everyone, and welcome to the Tie-Dye Mindset. This is a podcast for the tie-dye community focusing inside the minds of expert dye artists that have elevated their craft to new heights and are making the world a more colorful place in the process. My name is Greg Foster, and today's interview is with Neil de la Cruz. Neil is an artist deep to the bone. He is not only a dye artist, but quite the musician and sound maker. Neil's dye art is some of just the best that I've seen out there, and getting to know him online, I really found an amazingly creative spirit. Neil's technique is quite remarkable, and I was excited to speak with him and get to know more about what's going on in his head. Neil's graciously consented, as with the others, to this interview to share his extensive knowledge and experience so that all us tie-dyers can understand the mindset of what it takes to be a dye artist and really embrace this craft and help spread color around the world. I hope you enjoy the interview, and you can find Neil's work at Neat Tie-Dye on Instagram and Facebook, and his shop is etsy.com/shop/neat tie-dye. If there's anything you'd like me to post, please go ahead and leave a comment below. Also, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button if you want to stay up to date on what we are doing at the Tie-Dye Mindset. Hope you guys have a great day, and thanks for watching. Hey everybody, welcome to my interview series. This is Greg Foster. Today we're talking with Neil de la Cruz of Neat Tie-Dyes. He is definitely one of the people who has inspired me to get better at this craft and learn more about the individuals who I look up to and who I feel are kind of like beacons out there for everybody to maybe aspire to be, or certainly people that you want to grab a piece of their artwork and share it with the world. So first of all, let me just say thanks, Neil, for coming and taking some time to sit down with me virtually. And it's great to meet you. Like I was saying before, you know, your artwork that you've put up on Instagram and the other sort of social media pages has been awe-inspiring to me. Those spirals in particular, your Kenny style, I mean, just about everything you put out there is just like eye candy. And I appreciate you taking some time today. We'll hopefully go for about an hour and then get some great discussion in there. So let's get started with, you know, how did you get into tie-dye? How long have you been doing it? What inspires you to be doing this art form?
Hey, yeah, thanks for liking my stuff and reaching out. I got into tie-dye probably 3 or 4 years ago, and like I had said previously, yeah, I hadn't thought about tie-dye or even owned a tie-dye shirt for my life up until I got really into tie-dye. I guess the story there is I opened and owned a thrift store in my hometown for between 5 and 6 years, and one day these hippie vagabonds came through town, like deadheads, and they were selling their shirts on the side of the road, and there was one pattern in particular that really just piqued my interest. I was just very curious about how they even did it. It's, if you go back early on my page, I was just doing the star pattern, and I still do it now, but I was just super curious, how do you even, I don't know, it just it kind of opened it just made me think. I'm not doing a good job explaining.
Oh, you're fine.
I was just super curious about how that was even possible. I was perplexed, and so I was asking them how. One of the guys is an older gentleman. It was a whole group, but he was really nice, and he would kind of tell me little tips of what tools he used. He never actually told me how to do it, and he said he would teach me, but then he just came and went. Before I knew it, he was gone. So then after that, I just kind of scoured the internet, and I was like, how do you do this? How do you do this? And I found the tutorial, found Facebook groups, and when you first got interested in tie-dye, I just like looked everywhere on the internet, just like watched a million YouTube videos, found a bunch of people on Instagram, was asked, I was like, I was like messaging really good tie-dyers, like sending out, not asking them how to, for all their secrets, but just asking them like, do you have any tips? Like blah, blah, blah. So yeah, sorry, I'm kind of rambling, but, and then after that, like the rest is history. I think about and do tie-dye every single day. It's kind of taken over my life, but in a very, very positive way. Like for the most part, everyone's super positive and just very encouraging and supportive. Like it's a really, really neat little subculture community type of thing. It's really changed my life for the better. I feel like it's awesome.
I would agree. Yeah, the more and more I get into it, and the more I share, the positivity is just remarkable.
Yeah.
I think that goes back to what tie-dye is at its heart, is a way to bring color, brightness, and sort of a mysticism, if you will, into the world. And I think the people that really latch onto that are really looking for a way to share that positivity in the world. Cool. So you've only been doing tie-dye for like 3 or 4 years. I mean, and like I've seen on your page, your pleated spirals are probably some of the best and tightest I've seen. What kind of led you down a specific path, for specific designs? Was it just your own aesthetic choice, or was it something, ease of doing it, or what was it?
Well, I mean, yeah, it like, it's kind of a personal choice. Like as I fell deeper down the tie-dye rabbit hole, it's like you see certain patterns that you're like, in my mind, I was like, oh, like there's like a mental checklist of patterns that like, I'm like, I want to master that. Like, that looks really good. Like if I mean, with each pattern, it's kind of like a different story. Like, the pattern that got me started, which is called the Wrong Star. Yeah, that just like really caught my eye, and that's what began my tie-dye journey. And then the Pleated Spiral was, everybody knows Timothy from Russia. Well, actually, yeah, I saw his spirals first, and that really blew my mind. That would like, I would show people his spirals when I was just getting into tie-dye, and I would tell them like, because I would always, I think they were always into, I was always like, in the back of my mind, like little kind of embarrassed about doing tie-dye, because it's like, because when people think of tie-dye, it's like, you just think of put a fork in a t-shirt, or like they did it in kindergarten, it's, oh, kids can do it. Oh, how cute, you do tie-dye. So I would actually, when I would tell people that, I would like pull my phone up and show them really good tie-dye, even though I couldn't do it. I'd be like, look at this guy from Russia, or look at this, like, and they'd be like, wow. I'm not sure if they were just like, I don't know what the word is, like just trying to make me feel okay about it. But that I would like show them and be like, look at this, is like, these are the possibilities, and they'd be like, oh, cool. But now that I feel like, now that I can do it, like I feel like people understand, like I'll be like, oh, I'm really good at tie-dye. Not bragging, I'll just say like, oh yeah, I do tie-dye, I think I'm really good. And they'll be like, oh, like we're kind of rolling their eyes, and then I'll show them my phone and be like, wow.
Oh my God, you are really good.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I tend to not really think very much of myself. So tie-dye is like something that really makes me feel with some sort of confidence, or makes me feel good at like,
awesome.
Makes me feel like competent, and just feel good about myself. But anyway, yeah, patterns. You still want to hear about patterns? I just kind of went off the trail there.
That's all right, man. That's what we're here for, is just to get inside your head.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Okay, so yeah, the star is the thing that caught my attention. And then, you know, you go in the groups and you find more artists and you're just like, I want to learn that. I want to learn that. I want to learn that. And you start gathering all these different patterns. And yeah, so I mean, the Pleated Spiral, I took Timothy's spiral course when it first came out. And I was just obsessed with that pattern for a very long time. I practiced it every day. Yeah, I mean, I was trying to do it on my own for a long time, and I got some pretty good results. But that his video course really, there's some things he goes over in his video that like really helped me. So then I just that took me. I was doing them every day. There's a photo back in my feed. There's a whole table full of spirals because I was just like, I just need to put in the hours and just get this to where it's like muscle memory and kind of cement it in my brain. So I just like spent like weeks just doing a pleated spiral, and yeah, and then what else? I took another course called like the Art of Ice Dyeing. There was another pattern that was based on shibori, like the Japanese tie-dye, and that kind of got me into ice dyeing, which I'd never tried before. And I got really spoiled by ice dyeing because you don't have it's just really easy. You don't have to mix any dye, you know, it's just kind of tie it and then you like throw dye on it.
Do you prefer ice dyeing over liquid dyeing?
Not necessarily, no. At this point, Kenny style kind of got me back into liquid dyeing. And I used to think liquid dyeing was a pain because I mix so many dyes. Like let me show you. I always mix way too much dye, and I just did this crazy experiment where I blended. I made all my own color.
Your color mixes and stuff
mixes.
Like that.
Yeah. Can you? Okay, here we go. Look at I mixed. So I used to think mixing liquid dye was a pain, but actually now I really enjoy it. Just getting different shades, secondary and other colors, and it's I don't know, like it's liquid dyeing. If you take your time and do it right and kind of like figure out which colors go well together, I think it. Yeah, I guess I never really thought about this before, but I think liquid dyeing trumps ice dyeing. I hate to use that word, trump. I think it beats ice dyeing. You have more control, and you can to do it right. There's just it's just more powerful. There's more. It's just you can get much more complex, diverse patterns. But so I don't really prefer either one. I think you asked me about fishing line and sinew. You know, it's the same with liquid dyeing and ice dyeing. It's like they both have their place for different things. Like I prefer spirals with doing ice dyeing, but I still think they look good with liquid dye. And like Kenny style, like you could ice dye a Kenny style, but you wouldn't be getting the most out of that particular fold. Liquid, it really lends itself to liquid dyeing.
Trying to ice dye a piece of coral is a lot more difficult than to ice dye something flat and folded. Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. That's really insightful. And when I asked you that question a few weeks back about sinew and fishing line, your answer was perfect. There are and it clicked in my head when you said it. Of course, of like there's a time and place for everything. And you know, sinew has a different effect than fishing line, which has a different effect than kite string, which has a different effect of, you know, rubber bands. Just like each different fold, different style has a different effect. Ice dye versus liquid dye. And you know, when you mentioned that to me, I was just like, duh, of course. You know, I mean, I'm still just learning the nuance of working with fishing line. My hands are just like, at the end of the day, are just like with the fishing line, where the sinew is, okay, no problem. And yeah, it's really good and insightful to hear from you the thoughts that might, you know, from somebody with a lot of experience might sound like, you know, second nature, but to somebody who's just getting into it, you're just like, oh, of course, that makes perfect sense. And it just kind of helps progress you in different directions. That's cool, man. Do you think that you've developed your own style, like your own design, or have you really gone after more perfecting specific styles?
I still feel like I don't have my own style. I've done things that certain things that nobody's done before, but most of my stuff has just already been done before. And you know, this is like, I don't know, it's a tricky conversation because a lot of tie-dyers just not a lot, I wouldn't say a lot, but you know, there's like very few things that people invented. But yeah, I feel like I have done things in my own way with different styles that if you are familiar with tie-dye, you'd be able to tell like, oh, that's this pattern, but it looks different because I did it a different way. So as far as I don't feel like I've invented anything, but I feel like just because I'm a different person and I make different choices, say with like color or layout, I feel like I have my own fingerprint on all my work. But some other tie-dyers might just say like, you know, he just bit that style, or he just bit that style. But everyone does that. That's the thing, is like, there's a very small amount of people that have invented or made a new style. They've just maybe like pushed it in a different direction or combined it in a different way. Yeah, so I don't know. I'd be interested to know, to hear what like you or other people think when they see my stuff, like other tie-dye artists. Like, do they, I don't know, because it's a very touchy subject. Like some people are very, like, there's a lot of ego into it and they think people steal or they don't want to show their secrets. But then there's like one of my favorite tie-dye persons. I think he's like just a lovely human being, and his art is exceptional, is Paul Kenny. And he's like one of the most open, humble, like easygoing, just persons. And like you, compared to a lot of, not enough, I keep saying a lot, compared to other people, he's just, I don't know, but what am I trying to say?
I think I understand where you're coming from, and I allude to that in a question here in a minute. Is rather than inventing or creating a new design per se, I like what you said about pushing one design to, you know, in another direction. And from my standpoint, my opinion is, you couldn't have said it more perfect, that your fingerprint is on your shirts. And you see the way that you play with the color, your color application. I can look at like 5 different guys who are doing pleated spirals or Kenny style, and I can kind of feel who's doing what. You
Right.
know, like what is it? Forrest. What's Forrest's last name? Ananda Dai.
Bird?
He does pretty good. He does amazing pleated spirals as well, but his color application is different than yours.
Yeah.
And you know, though they're both amazingly proficient technically, you definitely can see your style versus his style.
Yeah.
So no, that's awesome, man. I totally see where you're coming from, and it's like you're taking one style of, and mind you, a very simple style. The spiral is probably one of the first ones that we all learn,
Yeah.
and really taking it to that apex of where it can go. And I think you're still pushing the limit. You know, each one that you post is grand and unique in its own way. And you're right, like the ones from Timothy, I mean, the amount of pleats and the distinction all the way down to the center is just mind-boggling. You know, I'm still trying to squeeze in, you know, close to 30 pleats, and I'm seeing ones with like, you know, 40,
Yeah.
50 pleats in there. It's like, how on earth can you possibly do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Timothy's prior student, Maximilian, really pushed the amount of pleats that you can get in this spiral. And I've done a few like 40 pleat spirals, and oh man, they look so crazy. Like it takes time and patience, and there's kind of like a knack that you get into when you're folding it, like a dexterity thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're like balancing all these.
Yep.
I don't know.
No, I if you haven't tied a pleated spiral, I don't think you understand. But since I've done a few and I'm seeing improvements in my own, I totally get where you're coming from. Where
Yeah.
there's that complexity at the beginning where you don't think you can ever attain the distinction to the point where you're like, oh man, I got 27, 30 pleats in there and I didn't even really try. You know, so it's one of those things where, yeah, the way you move the fabric, the way you split the pleats and get really down into it, yeah, it's definitely muscle memory and just
Yeah, it's like a juggling act in a way.
so you know, you've mentioned guys like Paul Kenny and Timothy. Is there anybody else out there that you can really look to that has been like a coach or a mentor or an influence that really stands out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Josh Coleman of Working Man Dies. He's an inspiration, and he's a really nice guy too. And I haven't talked with him in a while, but when I was first learning pleated spirals and Kenny style, I would pick his brain, chat with him like on Facebook. That guy's really cool. I really appreciate him, and I'm inspired by what he does. He's carved out like a cool niche within a style, within Kenny style, that like is uniquely his own.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Josh Cohen. My biggest mentor recently is Josh Hudson of J Hudson Tie-Dye. I actually consider him a pretty good friend. For a little while there, we were talking. We were FaceTiming and video chatting like every day or every other day, and I feel really lucky to have befriended him right when he was starting out, because he'd share a lot of stuff with me, and he's a very focused, intense person, and he really pushed me to do things that I may not have done without him. He's been the biggest. I call him I never told him, but I call him my mentor, because he's really pushed me to do different things. And yeah, he's great. And he's younger than me too, but he's just a very interesting, cool guy. I was actually supposed to fly out. Oh no, he was going to come out here for a tie-dye gallery show, and it got canceled at the last minute because that's when COVID just broke out.
Right.
And then I was gonna that got canceled, and I was gonna fly out to Tennessee and for like a week and just do tie-dye stuff together and hang out, and then my flights got canceled from coronavirus. It was kind of got blindsided by coronavirus.
Yeah, we all did, man.
This year's been so crazy. Yeah. Yeah. So Josh, and yeah, Timothy's. I've talked with him some, but just taking his course and chatting with him when I was learning the spiral, he's been really helpful and inspirational. What else? Yeah, like when I was first starting off, there's the Facebook tie-dye groups, and there's a lot of information in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that group as a whole, as well as like the members in it, were really crucial early on for like cutting my teeth in the craft, and just learning different folds and different techniques and just gaining information. But yeah, I would say Josh Hudson, he's been the biggest coach for me.
Awesome. Where do you think you kind of fit within the tie-dye community?
I don't know, honestly. I'm not sure. I mean, I hope I fit in a place that is unique, and it kind of is a little different than other people's. Like, I hope I fit in a way that is like uniquely my own. I hope I have my own spot. And I feel like I still have a lot of room to grow. But there's still a lot of stuff I want to do, and I have new ideas on how to lay out stuff and push things in different directions. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what like all the tie-dye artists that I look up to, like how they feel, what they think, where they think I fit. I'm not sure how to answer that question. I hope I fit in a spot that is my own. I don't know.
Well, I certainly look up to you, and you've got, 3,500 followers at least on Instagram that probably look up to you, or at least want to see what you're doing. So maybe it's not something that we can define concretely, but I definitely think that you've got a spot with some stature. So not that we need to stroke your ego at all, but you definitely have people that love your work, myself included.
Yeah.
So keep it up, and
cool.
I can't wait to see what you push into.
Thanks.
So, I a few times have gone back to your first Instagram post and just kind of scanned through your timeline there, and it's very evident to see your progression from almost beginner like aspirations and technique into where you are now. Other than just practicing and the courses that you mentioned, is there anything else that you'd kind of attribute to getting to where you are now? Is there hope for the future for the rest of us?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know. It was weird when I was first starting out. I would go back through other tie-dye people's profiles and their posts, and I noticed that around the 3 or 4 year mark, a lot of people started their work just like got on another level, and or they started doing something a little more unique and different. And yeah, it's a curious thing. I'm not sure why that happens, because it happened with me, and the only thing I could think of is that it's just like accumulating the knowledge and just putting the hours in, and just continually experimenting, and just getting deeper and deeper into the craft, where you're like familiar with enough styles and enough technique, and where you just kind of like you just kind of get a little more free in what you make, where you're just like you can kind of just roam wherever you want within the craft. I don't know. I've thought about that before. I'm not sure what happens. I mean, it's probably different for everybody, but I think it's just like, if you do put in the hours and you are passionate and keep doing it, you just get to a point where it's like second nature, or you're just a little more, it's, you know, I would think about it like as maybe like a musician, of like, once you get past the early steps, like once you've been seeing an instructor for however much time, or you've been practicing so much, like you can just, I mean, because like, just think about playing a piano. Like if you didn't know how to read music and had an experience, you can just walk up to a piano and it'd be like, it would feel very rigid, and you wouldn't really know what to do, which notes are on which keys. But then, like, say you've been practicing for 3 years, you can just walk up to the piano and just start messing around without even thinking about it. I think it's a similar thing in the craft. It's just kind of like you get to a point where it comes naturally.
Kind of like playing an instrument, like you were saying. Your fingers know what to do. Your brain knows where to go. The dies and the ties are all, you know, notes that you're able to plunk out, as it were.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you've attained that kind of level of expertise?
I feel like that. I feel like, yeah, generally, I feel like I've gotten my tie-dye stats up. There's a few folds that I feel like I could be better at. But for the most part, I feel like pretty comfortable with most of my stuff. But there's like other things like my mandalas have gotten better, but I feel like there's room for improvement in their centers, and my accordion fold, micro pleat, like wigwag things, yeah. Like I'm like mediocre at them, but I feel like if I put in the time, like they would come a little more naturally. But for the most part, I feel like I have my tie-dye bases covered pretty well.
Yeah, I'd say you got that spiral down.
Yeah, I love spirals.
No, I you know, it's kind of like that, the 10,000 hour, you know, theory, that you spend 10,000 hours doing any specific thing, any practice, and you become basically proficient, you know, and expert at it. And certainly in your work, I think that it shows through to great success. So as we kind of touched on earlier, you know, what I've seen throughout the tie-dye community when I've been talking to quote unquote experts,
tie-dye experts,
is there's basically two kind of camps, and maybe a little bit of gray area between the two, of one that is very open and forthright with their technique and their styles and their recipes, and really want to share what they know so that people who come after them are starting from, you know, a little further from the starting blocks. Where there are others that also feel that, you know, why should I share my 20, 30, 15 years of knowledge on what took me that long to develop? Why should I share what I do now to the newbie just to kind of dilute what I've become?
Right.
How do you know, what's your take on that? How do you feel that that kind of plays in the community?
Geez.
I know it's deep before you finished your coffee.
Yeah, we're getting into some deep tie-dye philosophy territory right now. Just kidding. I don't know. I mean, it's different for everyone. I feel like my opinion, how I feel about that, is I'm a little more laid back and easygoing. But I know other people, some people I know and some people I just hear about, like they're very, I understand where they're coming from. Like when they say sharing information and techniques and tools would dilute the art form. Like I think a lot of that comes from like an ego kind of insecurity, kind of feeling threatened, and kind of like just feeling a little scared about like if there's more people making more like similar stuff. And I also, you know, I could understand that if like people who do it full time, or people who make a lot of money off of it, like they feel threatened, like they don't want everybody to have the knowledge so they can continue to stay in their lane and just keep doing what they're doing. Yeah, I don't know. So I understand why people would say that it dilutes the art form, but yeah, like you know, I'm not gonna put out any tutorial videos, and like if somebody I respond to pretty much everybody that asks me for help, and I'm not gonna hold their hand and show them how to do everything exactly, but I point people in the right direction. Like if people ask me about Kenny style, like I'll send them Paul Kenny's tutorial for Kenny style. Or people ask me about whatever, you know, I'll be like, this is where I started. This is a class you can take. Like, I personally don't feel threatened or like, I don't know. You're right. There's like two camps. Like there's this whole group of people that like intentionally put no tutorials in their profile. I think it's a little ridiculous. Like, why do you have to go out of your way to say that? It's like, I think it's very like, it's just a little like offensive or aggressive in a kind of wrong direction. I mean, you could just message. I mean, I don't know. Maybe from their point of view, maybe so many people are messaging them and asking for tutorials that they'd rather just put it in their profile rather than messaging, like replying back. But I don't know. I mean, yeah. So I guess I understand why people would say that, like, be afraid to share knowledge. But at the same time, I get it. And I'm not gonna show everyone how I do what I do.
I mean, at the end of the day, it really takes your own exercise, you know, as an individual to figure out if you can do a specific design at all. Even having watched, you know, some tutorials online, I still have to be the one applying those lessons. You know, I've seen pleated spiral tutorials and it still took me forever. It's not like,
right.
You know, it's how do you apply those lessons? And like you said, I totally get the fear and threatened feelings that people have, especially if they're have monetized it to a point where it's the only way they make money.
Right.
That putting out their signature style is going to jeopardize their income. I can understand wanting to keep it close to the vest, but at the same time, you know, even if the best person out there told me how to do a specific type of dye or a type of style, it's going to take me years to get to the level that I'm at with what they're doing. So, but like I said, there's two sides to every coin, and you know, yeah, I like what you said. I'm more laid back, and you want to ask me something, I'll point you to how I learned.
Great, and then it's up to the individual to practice and put in the time, and you know, and even when they say they get really good at it, it's not gonna be exactly how you did it. It's gonna be different, and I don't know. Like, I would like to ask, like, I don't know. I think at tie-dye's heart, it's like such a positive, happy thing that spreads joy and color. It sounds really corny, but throughout the world. But I think it is really nice. I mean, tie-dye, when you go out and wear tie-dye, it brightens people's day, and it's like a very, like, to some people, most people, and it's a very positive thing. And it's like, what is the worst case scenario? Say, I mean, I feel like one day there's going to be a tutorial for every fold.
Oh yeah.
And like, what would be so wrong about that? There would be an abundance of really great tie-dye? Like, is that's like the worst case scenario for people who don't want to share stuff? It's like, oh, you don't want the world to be full of like really great art or like colorful things like that. Is that so bad? Is that like the world? I don't know.
No, exactly. You play that tape to the end and you're like, yeah, what's so wrong about everybody knowing how to do it? Again, you get back to that capitalist side, well, if everybody knew how to do it, why is mine special?
Right. Yeah.
It's like, if everybody's special, nobody's special.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen, I won't say any names, but I've seen some really good tie-dyers say some really like weird things where they're just like, oh, I can just imagine it now. Everyone's going to be doing pleated spiral. Now everyone's going to be doing Kenny style. And they're like, they say that with like, in a negative way. And it's like, oh, come on, like get over yourself. Like,
yeah.
Would that be so wrong?
Spiral, probably, 49 out of 50 people that try, they're going to give up even before they finish their first one.
Right.
And, the other rest of the percentage is going to, not get the results that they were expecting after their first reveal and be like, oh man, this sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. And all the crazy people that are going to keep practicing and have the determination to figure it out. It's like,
they're going to figure it out eventually anyways.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It's yeah.
That's kind of how I came with the Kenny style. I'm still trying to, I think I've got the tying down. It's the dye application that I'm still kind of figuring out. And I think the best result that I had was I had seen an old Facebook Live video of Paul Kenny being filmed by Thomas. And,
I've seen that video.
And at one point he just says, spray and pray, spray and pray. And that meant the world to me. And the next one I applied dye to, I basically closed my eyes and just randomly grabbed dye bottles and I sprayed and prayed, and it turned out to be actually pretty spectacular. Still got a ways to go to get to where I think I'm proficient at it. I've got arthritis in my left thumb, and it's really hard to do that style daily, but but it's a lot of fun to try for sure.
Yeah. And everyone does it differently. Like Paul Kenny, he's even called dyeing Kenny styles like a, what did he call it? Like a dance, like physical performance art. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Because he's a little more free flowing with how he applies. He spray and pray. That's like his catchphrase. But then there's like other people like Austin or Jake or Josh, both the Joshes. The way they apply is very thought out. Even if it looks random, it's very
methodical,
intentional. And when I first started out, I would spray and pray, just kind of, and I still do that sometimes, but now I kind of have figured out some different ways that are more like controlled chaos. Like it's not like paint by numbers. You're not like coloring inside the lines, but to a certain extent, like there is some control or direction that you're going in.
Right. Now, what kind of led you into monetizing your tie-dye?
So when I first started doing it, it was just, I was never thinking about making money, and that's still not my main reason for doing tie-dye. I was just doing it because I liked to do it, and it was fun. But then once I realized and saw other people doing, like, getting more money for their shirts, and people started paying me more money for my shirts, then I was just like, excuse me, then I'm like, wow, I could make a decent, like, side income or main income if I put in the time. So it was just like a natural development. It was like, I was making shirts. I thought they were cool. I would sell at some farmers markets sometimes. And then the thrift store that I opened, my tie-dyes hung from all the from the ceilings and the walls, so like I make a little money that way. But at a certain point, when I was putting more time into the shirts I did, and then got more followers, more people interested, you know, I just started getting more money from a shirt, and that's been really cool. It's like a really good incentive, a really encouraging thing to be able to do this creative craft and people to appreciate it and pay you for it. I mean, because I feel like with a lot of art, people put in just as much time, say like a musician or any other craft, all the people on Etsy, all the people making jewelry and all that stuff, like they put in just as much time as tie-dye, but I feel like they don't always get paid for what they're worth, or like maybe there's not as many people interested as they would like. Mm-hmm. And hopefully that just the act of creating is enough for them. But with tie-dye, it's been really cool to actually like get really nice comments, really nice messages, and people just to give you money for doing something that you enjoy. Yeah, it's just been kind of a natural development, monetizing tie-dye.
Is it full-time income, or do you have like a real job?
A real job. Right now, it's pretty much the only way I make money, and I'm not doing it full-time, but I do it as much as I can, because I do still work at the thrift store 1 day a week, and I do like a lot of other things. I feel like so yeah, my answer is I do it as much as I can, but I don't do it full time. But it does take up time for me every day, like a good amount of time. But like I still feel like I haven't gotten to a point where I'm like doing it full time, like a real job, like wake up at 10, start doing tie-dye and stop at 6. It's like, so yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah. Is it one of those things that at some point you want to have it be your sole source of income, or do you feel, it's more a side gig?
I don't know. That's kind of up in the air. Like I want to experiment with it as my full source of income, and I would like to travel around the country and do it like mobily. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure how long I'll do it for, like, I don't know. In the back of my mind, there's always like, it would be nice to have a job with like benefits, or just something a little more stable or regular. And I mean, I'm gonna be 31, so like I'm not sure yet. I'm gonna try to keep pushing it and do it full time, and then whatever happens.
Way to do it, man.
Yeah.
Don't allow yourself to be shackled by the American ideal of employment, make your own life is what I say.
Yeah. I mean, life's really short, and I just want to continue doing it, and hopefully I can make some money, at least to be able to support myself, and live below my means, and just be able to make ends meet, and keep doing what makes me happy. So I don't know. We'll see.
That's the goal, right? So, Neil, I know that you keep showing me this piece of coral as if it's like your prized possession. What's going on? Fidgeting?
Just like my little stress ball. It's just nice to have something tactile that like kind of, I don't know.
I feel you, bro. I feel you. So I know that you were quite the proficient beatboxer and quite the proficient mouth harp player. What got those into your world?
I've been making music, playing instruments pretty much just my whole life. I was in marching band in middle school. Started playing drums when I was like 14. I've been in a bunch of different bands. I I got really into making Game Boy music. I have like a whole chest full of just odd instruments like kazoos and whistles and accordions and different keyboards. So I've just, throughout my life, I've just been accumulating things that make noise because I just love making noise. So, I mean, yeah, so beatboxing, I mean, I've always just been kind of making sounds. And then there's this guy, Reggie Watts. He really inspired me to get better at beatboxing. He's amazing. He's very, very great at beatboxing. Then, you know, that inspired me. And then one day I saw a friend playing a mouth harp, and I'm like, what? I didn't even know that existed. So I'm like, oh, I got to get one of those. And yeah, I'm sure there'll be things further along the road where I'll see someone doing something and I'll be like, that's really cool. I want to learn how to do that. Yeah, but beatboxing, I mean, I've been a drummer almost my whole life, so I just like making beats, and I don't know, it's just fun.
It's cool, man. Yeah, I guess once creative, always creative, right? Be it music or visually or whatever, man. That's really cool. Yeah, you know, the first way I found the mouth harp, I was, you know, preteen. My favorite thing in the world at the time when I was a kid was Snoopy, and
oh yeah.
Snoopy played the mouth harp in some of the cartoons, and I was like, I just got to get one of those. It makes the funniest sound, and come on, Snoopy plays it, so why not? And I had one when I was a little kid, but seeing your affinity for it, it brought back some happy memories. I'm gonna have to go get a new one and annoy my family with it.
There's a guy who's bought a few shirts for me, and he's a musician, and he actually made me happy. After I posted my video, he sent me a video of him playing his mouth harp, and he's like, I forgot that I had this thing. I haven't played it in a while, and that was really neat. Yeah, actually just ordered a new mouth harp. Came from the Middle East. I think it came from Israel, and it should be getting here in like a week or so. I'm really excited about that.
Cool. Yeah, I saw one once that like the big part was like that big around, and the forks were like these giant. I mean, the thing was like, you know, 3 feet across, and the guy was playing. I was like surprised he didn't chip a tooth or something using it.
Yeah, it's an interesting instrument. It's actually one of the oldest instruments in human history, and like every culture around the world has some form of it. It's crazy.
I did not know that. Learn something new every day. Hey, that's why we're interviewing you, right?
Right.
Cool. So, what do you think the future holds for yourself, for tie-dye as an art form, for the community? You know, where do you see it going? You know, the next 5-10 years, if you can even think that far down the road.
As far as like the tie-dye world as a whole, I think right now is a really interesting time for tie-dye because mainly because of the internet, and information about how to do it is being spread so widely. Like I've said to friends that I think tie-dye is in like a renaissance right now. I feel like there's more people doing it than ever before, and there's more people doing it very well than ever before. And so I think 5-10 years down the road, it's going to get there's going to be probably even just more intricate, more colorful, unique tie-dye. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I just know that people are going to continue pushing it and learning it and developing new things. Yeah, it's going to be a crazy time right now.
Now, do you see a world in the future where everybody's just going to wear tie-dye?
Geez, I hope so. I mean, I know some people will not, it's just not their cup of tea, but
right.
Like I would love it to go to the supermarket or wherever, or stop at the gas station, and like, you know, at least half or more of the people are wearing tie-dye. I mean, nothing would make me happier.
Yeah, it would be really cool. That's for sure.
That's the world I want to live in.
So were there any, when you started getting into this and starting to get a little bit better and more proficient, were there any challenges that you feel that you had to overcome to really get to the next level or continue to be engaged in the art form?
Challenges. I mean, I think like with any creative pursuit, the challenge is just continuing to do it and failing enough times where you don't fail as much, because like tie-dye is it's not, you don't always know what's going to happen. So I mean, I think it's just putting in the time and being passionate enough about it to fail enough times just to hold on a sec, I gotta let out the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than just being persistent in practicing, I think I think there's a small learning curve of just like learning which chemicals you need to use and learning which materials and tools to have, and like knowing where to buy them and how to use that, use them. But I don't know, as far as challenges, I guess just putting the time and practicing and learning and yeah, being motivated enough to just keep doing it.
Yeah, I like what you said, persistence. It definitely takes persistence to get good at anything, and certainly something that is as free-flowing as tie-dye is. That's cool. If there is, if you were to go back, knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would have done differently? Start all over?
No, I don't think I would. I mean, I think I did everything right. I mean, I just kind of fumbled my way through it, and then I was really lucky to meet some people that really helped me and shared information with me. But I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't have changed anything. I would have loved to have, you know, grown up like, say, like Thomas, where his dad was already like very good at it, or like say Timothy's kids, where their dad's already like a proficient at everything. Like they could just clear up so much stuff in the beginning, and you'd be able to be really good really quickly. But you know, that didn't happen with me. And there's, you know, few households where there's like a tie-dye master. So I think I did everything. I wouldn't change anything. I think I did everything naturally, and I don't know, I'm happy with my tie-dye journey.
Cool. I'm sure you've got some doozy stories of doing your own tie-dye and stories from the tie-dye world. What do you think would stick out in your mind as the most memorable?
I don't know. One second. Tie-dye stories.
Is there anything that you'd consider to be like your greatest success, your greatest failure, toughest lesson?
I don't know. I can't think of any one thing that stands out. I mean, there's just been a bunch of really nice encounters in person and on the internet. But I can't think of like any one story. I met this person in a nearby town, and I ended up doing a fashion show with her. That was pretty cool. I dyed a bunch of garments with her, and then there was this really cool fashion show with music and art, and I saw like some women and men just go down a catwalk and walking around with my work on, and that was really special. Yeah, that was a cool experience. That person, actually, I did some custom work for them, and they traded me some substances that were very helpful in my creative process. So yeah, that's been cool. I feel like if I do travel around and do tie-dye and sell tie-dye, I feel like I still have like I could have some really cool adventures through doing tie-dye and just meeting people and traveling around.
There are some interesting characters out there for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, Neil, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day today to sit with me and chat about tie-dye and your experiences. For me, it's been really informative, and hopefully for those who get to enjoy this interview as well. So if you guys are interested, check out Neil's work. Neat Tie-Dyes is his Instagram handle. He's also got a Facebook page. His spirals are, to me, some of the best I've seen in the world. If you're into that, give him a look up, shout out, and definitely check out his Etsy shop and buy.
Thanks, man.
Support the craft. All right. To those out there, peace be with you, and thanks for watching.